Hi, welcome to Pictures, Noise and Words. I'm Hedgie, and this is Charles. Hello,
Hey,
Charles. Charles has very kindly come back. Those of you with very long memories will remember Charles being on the channel. God, I don't even know when it was. When
it
was
was a
that?
long time ago.
Yeah, must be 2019, I would
I think
say.
it was 2019. I think it was pre-pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, those of you who are regulars will have seen Charles. It's Charles Murphy, by the way, commenting in the comments. It's the best place to comment. Um, all over every single video, I think, probably going right back to the beginning of time.
Yep.
And I've been doing this over 5 years now. I can't quite believe that.
I'm 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 surprised. I'm
You're
surprised that I've
surprised
been
I've lasted
commenting
this
that
long?
long.
Yeah.
No, I'm not surprised the channel's lasted that long. I'm surprised I've been commenting that long. Sometimes I'll go back and look and like, wow, that was a long time
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, yeah. Or sometimes you think, I don't realize it was that long ago.
That's
You
that's
know.
more the effect.
So anyway, yeah, sorry, VINTERSEA. So this is VINTERSEA and a song called At the Gloaming Void. Only just been released, literally day or two ago as we're recording this. It's probably not going to be very objective, this, because I already know. Charles, you're a big fan of VINTERSEA.
I am admitted fanboy.
Yeah, and I have every respect for them. I've got their Illuminated album. I'm not sure if I've got the other one. But anyway, this song is coming off a forthcoming album, which will be their third full length. But we don't know the name of it. Or at least I could not find the name of it. And I couldn't find a cover for it. Probably if they haven't got a name, they at least certainly haven't worked on the cover. So this is, and Charles can't see what I'm pointing at, but this is the cover of the single, this single. I got this from Bandcamp. I may have mentioned that place before. Um, so yeah, what is it, Charles? Do you think what is it about this band compared to if you think about all the other bands that are out there like that are in this genre?
So, melodic death metal, right? I think is the typical description. And they honestly put the melodic part in melodic death metal.
Hmm.
They're very hard, very heavy, but their melodies are truly songs. A lot of times I'll listen to a lot of heavy metal, and even though I like it, I'll say, yeah, but wasn't there a song there? You know, I kind of think of the song as, a melody. Um, they really put the melody in their songs,
Mm-hmm.
very constructive. And, I'll be in for, like we said before, the newness of female death metal singers has worn off long ago.
Female death metal singers. Yeah.
I'm sorry, female death metal singers has worn off a long time ago. But she also puts melody in her method. Even though it's the heavy growling, you can pick out a flow that's, you've mentioned before that there's singers that do it that are extremely monotone.
Yep.
She puts a lot of melody also in her vocals of both styles.
And there's another thing as well, and that is that when I've said this before, and I think I said it on the last VINTERSEA video, to be honest, there's a core element to this, and I think you've got what core evolved into, which was this very well produced. I'm not saying they're a core band, just before anyone sends me a death threat. But you've got that very hard edged metal sound.
Mm-hmm.
Evolved quite a lot in the last 10 years. In fact, it evolved quite a lot in the last 5 years. And so production basically caught up with everyone's dreams. So everyone can have good production, and you get songs which you're kind of alluding to, is that you get songs where the production is amazing and it sounds massive or super heavy or whatever, or super clear, but super clear and super massive and heavy at the same time. But there's not really a song there. So you got this production that makes you go, ooh, that sounds impressive. but if you actually listen to it, the song's quite simple, and they've produced it up to be something more than it is. And I can think of some examples which I shan't go into, but because again, death threats. I'm quite disappointed actually. I've only actually had one real death threat since I started this channel, and in 5 years, that's not very good going, is it? But and that was on a song I said I liked, so you know.
Oh my god, that's one more than I ever want to receive.
Yeah. I didn't take it super seriously. But anyway, off that point. So, but VINTERSEA, I feel, write very good songs, and they write interesting songs, and it comes down to melodies, which nearly all songs just come down to melodies at the end of the day. Right. And I've said this, like I say, I know I'm repeating myself, but I also know that people aren't, or haven't seen my videos before. They may have just shown up for this one, so I tend to repeat myself a lot. And it's just that I think this is where this style of music has evolved to. What you said about female-fronted death metal. At first, it was like, you know, when you've got your arch enemies appearing and everyone's going, oh my goodness, you know, I cannot believe this. And then it became more popular, so suddenly every lady with that could growl was suddenly fronting hastily thrown together bands, shall we say, to jump on the bandwagon. Yeah. But they couldn't. They might have been able to make a deep grr or whatever, but they couldn't carry a tune at the same time.
That's right.
And I again, I'll upset everyone by not actually saying, but I can think of a very prominent, popular example of that, which I'm not going to go into. So I probably shouldn't have brought it up.
That's the one I remember you mentioning before. Yeah. Very monotone.
Yeah, you can ask me. You can ask me when we've finished recording, and I'll tell you who it is.
I think I remember which one.
Did I actually say at the time?
I think you I think you might have hinted around it.
Oh, right, yeah. Because I mean, there's a side of, I'm not really scared about people sending me death threats or anything, but I don't like to, you know, someone's got a career going, and it's not. I don't want to bash them for entertainment purposes, shall we say? Which is why I don't tend to really, even if I don't like something, I always say why, and you know, that's true, and try and give a critique. I don't want. There's too many people out there just saying, "No, this is rubbish," when it's not, which is just not a valid. It's just not a valid opinion in my view. But we've gone off the subject already. This is what happens, folks, when I have someone to talk to rather than just talking to myself. This is what happens. So we should probably listen to this song. So yes, there is another album coming. I don't know what it's called. I don't know what it looks like. And I haven't. Charles has heard this. I know that. To be honest, I've heard, and he's heard. So he's heard it once, but he's already a super fan. I'm a fan, right. And I've heard a little bit of it. I've heard like 30 seconds of it or something. So just so we're honest. Having another person on and different audio streams and stuff, I may screw this up, everybody. Having Charles here makes this 10 times more complicated from a technical point of view, so I'm just going to have to click a couple of things so I don't screw it up. And
I remember how to do a 3-2-1.
Oh, crikey. I'm glad you remembered, because I'd forgotten. I would have just started the video. That's a good job you said that then. Oh, wowzers. Okay, in that case, I'm a veteran. In that case, yeah, it's good job one of us is. So are you ready? Have you got it queued up?
I am ready. I got it queued up.
Fantastic. Oh dear. Right. So in that case, I'm going to start the video in 3, 2, 1, go.
The
I can hear music.
Yeah, now I have to.
Oh,
Now I had
it's
to find
you.
the pause.
It's you.
It's me. I had to find the pause button.
I was like, where's that noise coming from? So, before we say anything, well done to Carl Winnery. Carl is is the bass player from VINTERSEA, if people don't know, and he makes these videos, and he's so good at it. He's good at it.
Very good at it.
He made the video where they're dragging the boat through the desert. Brilliant. And there's so much work goes into these that people don't realize. All the little incidental asides that are in there. Someone's had to think of it. And when you watch things, you just take them for granted. And you just think, oh yeah, it's a shot of this or it's a shot of that. But all has to be planned, and someone has to come up with the storyboard, etc., etc.
When they're doing the band shots, I'm picturing him being behind the camera, setting up the lighting, setting up the camera, setting up the shot, and then running out.
Run out, pick up your bass, and go, and nobody move out shot or anything, or you're in big trouble. So I mean, it's got to be a great advantage having someone like that in your band. He did he made a Friday the 13th fan film.
Yes.
Anyway, so there you go. Shout out to the videographer, cinematographer, which I'm not sure what's the right word. There you go.
Oh, you're right.
So Carl, you're a cinematographer. You're welcome.
That's right. Extremely talented, no matter what you call him.
Yeah, clearly, he's nailed it. I'm just my only worry is I got his name wrong.
That's right. Carl Winnery.
Is it Carl Winnery? Yeah. Okay. Because I read things an hour later. I'm supposed to just say them, and sometimes you think, yes, I've got that wrong. I nearly called him Winery at first. Anyway, sorry, Carl. Let's move on.
Well, I'm guessing by the two N's.
Yes, that's the
it's Winnery.
Yeah.
So Carl, correct us both if we're wrong.
He's gonna comment under here, you know that, and just be like, "Leave me alone." But yes. Well, I don't know. Should I go first? I'm not sure I should go first.
I'll say one thing.
Good.
Besides all the music, and I'll let you speak to the music first, because I am, a fanboy, admittedly. The vampire thing threw me completely. I did not see that coming.
I assumed it was a case of mistaken identity, or not mistaken identity necessarily, just overly keen religion. Just saying, "'Tis a witch."
That was my take.
It be a witch.
Yeah, that was my take.
Yeah, and then it turns out guilty, totally guilty.
Yep.
And now there's another vampire. So yeah,
right.
That's the problem with vampires. They're just a menace.
No, brilliant twist, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, if there really were vampires, everyone would be one by now, but let's not get there. Anyway, so you've got the black metal elements to it, you've got the death metal, but then you've got a fantastic guitar solo in there.
Yes.
That kind of pulls away from the normal black death tropes
extremely tasteful solo.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You've got the pounding sort of trip hammer drumming, and then you've got her voice, which of course goes from death to black to nice. I don't. We need another word for clean vocals, don't we? But it goes death, black, clean, and with seeming ease. Sure, it's harder than it looks.
That's right. And I've seen some video of her in the studio, and she really is just that smooth.
Yeah.
And you can tell especially with the death metal vocal, well, with all the vocals, but especially the death metal, she gives it 110%. I mean, she really pours into it, even in the studio.
And I think with you living in the United States of America, I have much more chance of seeing her live than I do.
Well, she's on the West Coast, so I'm waiting for them to do a countrywide tour, because right now we're 3,000 miles apart.
Yeah. They live they're in Oregon, aren't they? I think.
Oregon, which I'm sure is where that was filmed.
Well, I had to look Oregon up on the map last time I did VINTERSEA, so because I didn't know it was on the coast. thought it was inland somewhere. Because my exposure to Oregon is something like, I don't know, Grizzly Adams or something, TV show or something. So, it's not a real place to me. It's this fictional place off the television.
Just like I've heard England is actually just pretend.
It's not real. Absolutely not real. This accent's just fake.
The stuff of fairy tale.
I know Florida's real because I've been there, but well, actually, Florida. I've been there, and the bit I went to wasn't real because I went to Disney. So, but anyway, that's not important right now, which has turned into one of my catchphrases somehow. So yeah, you've got all of these elements which make it. Again, I've said this before, but make it what this style of music has evolved into, and these were these were at the front of that, amongst others, but they were at the first wave of that evolution, I think, of it turning into, dare I say, proper music from people just making a lot of noise with a lady at the front that could growl.
That's right.
And there are, so you've got like your Ginger is another band that was in that first wave of someone you thought, wow, these people can also play, and they can also write songs, and they can also do the things that proper music has. I hesitate to use that word, but everyone knows what I mean. So I have I have all the time in the world for VINTERSEA because I feel that they are creating very good music. They've got very good musicality. They've got the melodies, and they've got all the musical chops to go with it. And good songwriting. So it's like they're just an excellent band. Wow. It's like I'm trying not to go too far down the sort of hyperbole route, but because I try and keep things sort of even-handed. But yeah, and as I said at the beginning, I am a VINTERSEA fan anyway. so it's not super objective, this.
That's right. And but even when you're a fan, you're a fan of the work that and the albums they've put out. And with any band that you're a fan of, there's always a little bit of trepidation about the next album coming out. It's like, wow, what if the next album out's a total disappointment?
I've got all their albums, even their new stuff that ain't no good.
Exactly.
That's a quote from Left 4 Dead 2, by the way, everybody.
Oh.
It's a computer game. I got all their albums, even their new stuff that ain't no good. It's like, that's so true.
Yeah, sometimes, you, and especially these days with YouTube and with social media, there's hype about a new album coming out, a new song coming out. There's, the countdown to the YouTube premiere. So you're getting pretty charged up. And at the same time, I have found that almost at the same time, I'm thinking, oh man, I can't wait for that to come out. I'm thinking, but what if it stinks? I'll be so disappointed. And this didn't disappoint me in the least. This easily met my expectations.
And there's that old adage that's been around forever of that difficult second album. I know this is their third album, but the first album they can spend 10 years writing, and they can tour it, and they can practice. They can find out what works and what doesn't, and they can, out of their 30 songs, they can pick the 8 they like, and their first album becomes all of their best work. And then the record company goes, "That's great. We need another one now in, we need another one by August." And you're like, "Oh crap!" So that's difficult second album. That's when you find out. I think when a band it's kind of the direction they're going, but they could still run out of ideas, and all of the things that happen to bands, like they become popular. And therefore it becomes much more pressurized, and certain people in the band may not want that. They may not want the big, they may not want the touring. They may not want the extra pressure and everything. So people leave quite often a new band that makes it. They could have been in it for 5 years, but as soon as it makes it, they leave. And if you're unlucky, that's the guy who knew how to write melodies, and
Right.
whatever. So that again, second, third album, you can lose band members that really matter. We've all seen that bands that are just not the same because the guy who was the bass player, and you might not have known his name, say, but what you didn't know
Right,
was
exactly.
he's
Right.
the guy who wrote the melodies or had the spark or whatever it was. And then so everyone else is left to go, oh, just replace the bass player, it's fine, it's the same band, but you've ripped the kind of the
Ripped the
heart
heart
out
out
of
of it.
Yeah. Whereas this is not happening to VINTERSEA, clearly. They've kind of, I think by now they've got over that hump that can wipe you out.
And from what I gleaned, they the pandemic, of course, threw everything off for everybody. The touring that they wanted to do in 2020 couldn't happen. They did start to hit the stage afterwards. And from what I gathered, they started writing, pretty much right away. And I think back to the good old days. But back in the past when you'd see a band crank out an album every 6 months.
Well, Iron Maiden, it'd be like tour, album, tour, album, tour, album.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought about it, and it's like, well, the creative juices are still flowing. So, get it while the getting's good. Because like you said, if you wait a couple of years, number one, people might lose interest.
Mm-hmm.
Band members might lose interest. Their whole outlook changes, so they don't write the same anymore.
With the total accessibility of stuff now,
right.
YouTube, Spotify, all of these things that make music just instantly available to you, it's very easy to get distracted.
That's right.
From. Whereas before it was like, it was 1992, Iron Maiden put out an album. You can read about it in a magazine, and you can go and see them on tour, and you can buy the album and listen to it, and that's it. You had no way of sending Bruce Dickinson a message, and say, probably wouldn't work now either, but I'm sure if I sent VINTERSEA a message, they'd probably see it at the very least. And well, I know they do because I've had replies from them. And so nowadays everything's so much more accessible, which sounds good, but what it makes everything is a little more immediate. At the time when the album comes out, there's a lot of attention for it in a very small, but then somebody else is doing the same thing the week later, and someone else done. Everything's so immediately accessible, immediately releasable, teasers, none of that happened. At the very best in the past, you would get a demo CD or something stuck to the cover of a magazine. That has had to be arranged for like 3 months to get to that point. So you might get some band puts a track off their album on this demo CD, of which you've got room for 8 songs, say. So of the 10,000 bands out there, you were seeing such a tiny percent. And so you kind of had to remember bands. You kind of had to be a fan and follow them.
There were bands that were some of my favorites that for a year I didn't know what they looked like. If they didn't put out an album cover with their faces on it, and they weren't plastered in all kinds of magazines, I really had no idea what the band members looked like.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the accessibility has changed, and I'm really glad VINTERSEA has stayed very true. In fact, this song is only the first taste, but I have a feeling they've even improved.
Right. Good.
There were elements of this song I thought that were even beyond some of what they've done before. And again,
I think, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying you might be completely right because you're kind of closer to VINTERSEA than I am. If you see what I mean. So yes, I've got Illuminated, their last album, but I don't remember it like perfectly. So, but this sounds like a nice, not nice. That's the wrong word. I always pick the wrong word. But this sounds like a good, solid enjoyable, all of those things that I said about the writing and the recording and the blah 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 blah. So this it certainly doesn't sound. I'm certainly not disappointed in any way, if you see what I mean. So at the very least, they've met the expectations I have of them.
That's right.
Does that make sense?
Right. Yes. I guess what I was pleasantly surprised by was the heavier part seemed even heavier.
Oh, right, okay. I mean, that might be a production thing, because I remember Illuminated being fairly uncompromising.
Oh yeah, it was. It was. It was. Not to say that anything they did in the past was not heavy, but this had amazing drive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sorry to as we're up to about 35 minutes on this video, I think I'm gonna have to call some kind of end to it. So, but Charles will be back next time I'm back, because I've got him now. He can't just escape. So, yeah,
I'm in the box.
So we'll probably carry on this kind of discussion in the next video, won't we? I'm sure we will. Or we'll go off on a completely different tangent. Who knows?
Thank God for the editing team.
Indeed, there's a whole bunch of editing elves in the back room working away. Actually, I hardly ever edit my videos. If you watch, there's never any breaks in them. I just put out whatever I say. And this will go out verbatim, I'm afraid.
Sorry.
So anyway, everyone, yes, if you're still here, I mean, yeah, you've obviously got nothing to do. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Charles, for coming, and I'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I took your line.